Some people never finish because they don't care. But perfectionists don't finish because they care too much. They rewrite the same email 10 times. Spend hours adjusting tiny details no one else will notice. Delay launching projects because it's not ready yet. Keep learning instead of publishing. Keep planning instead of building. From the outside, they look disciplined, responsible, committed to quality. But inside, something very different is happening. Every unfinished project carries a quiet weight. Not because they lack ability, but because every time they get close to finishing, something tells them it still isn't good enough. If you've ever abandoned a project that was 90% complete, not because it failed, but because it wasn't perfect, this isn't simply a productivity problem. It's a psychological pattern. And understanding that pattern might explain why some of the most talented people struggle to finish what they start. Most people think perfectionism means having high standards. It doesn't. Healthy standards inspire action. Perfectionism delays it. There's a huge difference. A healthy standard says, I want to do this well. Perfectionism says, it has to be flawless, or it's not worth doing. That difference changes everything. Imagine someone writing a book. After every chapter, they go back and edit the previous one. Then they rewrite the introduction. Then they change the structure. Then they question the entire idea. Months later, they still haven't finished chapter 5. Not because they aren't working, because they never allow themselves to move forward. The project becomes trapped in an endless cycle of improvement. Ironically, the pursuit of perfection prevents completion. Perfectionism isn't really about perfection. It's about fear. Psychologists often describe perfectionism as a protective strategy. If everything is perfect, no one can criticize you. If everything is flawless, you can't fail. Or at least, that's what the brain believes. The problem is that perfection is impossible. So the brain keeps moving the finish line. Every improvement creates another possible improvement. Every completed task reveals another tiny flaw. The project is never truly done. It simply becomes emotionally impossible to release. There's another psychological concept at work called fear of evaluation. Many perfectionists aren't afraid of the work itself. They're afraid of what happens after the work is seen. Once you publish the video, send the application, launch the business, or share the artwork, you lose control. People can judge it, ignore it, or misunderstand it. Keeping the project unfinished feels strangely safe. An unfinished project still has unlimited potential. A finished project can be evaluated, and that's terrifying for someone whose self-worth is closely connected to achievement. The identity trap. Here's something many perfectionists never realize. They don't just want their work to be perfect. They want their work to prove something about themselves. They want it to prove they're intelligent, capable, creative, successful. So every project becomes more than a project. It becomes a reflection of their identity. Suddenly, writing one article doesn't feel like writing. It feels like proving you're a good writer. Creating one video doesn't feel like creating content. It feels like proving you're talented. That creates enormous pressure. Pressure makes the brain cautious. Caution slows action. And eventually, nothing gets finished. Not because you're incapable, because too much is emotionally attached to the outcome. The illusion of one more improvement. Perfectionists often believe they're just one edit away. One more revision, one more adjustment, one more week. But psychology shows something interesting. Humans quickly adapt to improvements. What looked perfect yesterday suddenly looks average today. This is partly explained by hedonic adaptation. Our standards keep rising. The better our work becomes, the more flaws we notice, which means perfection always stays just out of reach. Like chasing the horizon. You move closer, but you never arrive. The biggest cost of perfectionism isn't slower progress, it's unfinished potential. Think about how many brilliant ideas never reached the world, not because they were impossible, because someone kept waiting for them to become perfect. An entrepreneur delays launching. A musician never releases the song. A student never submits the application. A creator deletes the video before posting. Nobody sees what could have existed. Over time, unfinished projects become emotional baggage. Every abandoned idea quietly whispers, "You never finished." That slowly changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who creates. You begin identifying as someone who almost creates. There's another hidden consequence. Confidence. Most people believe confidence comes from creating something perfect. In reality, confidence comes from repeatedly finishing things. Every completed project teaches your brain, "I can finish." Every unfinished project teaches, "I always stop." Without realizing it, perfectionists train themselves to expect incompletion. And expectations often become habits. So how do you escape perfectionism? Not by lowering your standards, but by changing what success means. Instead of measuring success by quality, measure it by completion. Psychologists sometimes call this focusing on process goals instead of outcome goals. Instead of asking, "Is this perfect?" ask, "Is this complete enough to teach me something?" Because every finished project gives you feedback. Every unfinished project gives you imagination. Reality is always more useful than imagination. Another powerful shift is adopting what designers call the prototype mindset. Every first version is simply version 1, not the final version. Think about the apps you use every day, the books you read, the products you buy. Almost none of them were perfect when they first launched. They improved because they existed. Perfection doesn't create progress. Iteration does. The 80% rule. Here's a practical strategy many high performers use. The 80% rule. When something reaches roughly 80% of the quality you imagined, release it. Not because it's perfect, because you'll learn more from real feedback than another month of editing. The remaining 20% often takes more time than the first 80, yet most people will never notice the difference. The creator notices. The audience usually doesn't. Here's something you can do today. Choose one unfinished project. Now answer one question. What would this look like if my only goal was to finish it? Not perfect it, finish it. Set a timer for 30 minutes. During that time, you're not allowed to improve old sections. Only move forward. At the end of those 30 minutes, ask yourself, did finishing feel more satisfying than endlessly improving? For most people, the answer is yes, because completion creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence makes future action easier. Conclusion. Perfectionism often disguises itself as ambition, but underneath, it's usually fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear that your work reflects your worth. The truth is, your work is something you create. It isn't who you are. Every unfinished project keeps your potential hidden. Every completed project, even an imperfect one, moves your life forward. Years from now, people probably won't remember whether your first attempt was flawless, but they'll never benefit from work that was never finished. So the next time you hear yourself saying, "It's not ready yet," ask a different question. Am I improving this? Or am I protecting myself from being seen? Because perfection doesn't change lives, finished work does. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't creating something perfect. It's deciding that it's finally complete enough to let go.
So, friends, your time matters, your mind matters. Keep choosing growth. If this story moved you, a like or comment means a lot. And if you are new here, welcome to Mind Thrive. Subscribe and stay inspired.